What is really happening between the US, Israel, and Iran? What if I told you that the Middle East may be standing at the edge of a major war? One that could reshape global politics, oil prices, and even world security. Today, we break down what's really happening between the United States, Israel, and Iran. What just happened? Early Saturday morning, Iran's airspace was suddenly closed. Smoke rose over Tehran. Explosions were reported across the capital. Then, US President Donald Trump announced that the United States had launched major combat operations in Iran. At nearly the same time, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed that Israel had launched what it called preventative strikes. Israel said the goal was to remove what it describes as an existential threat. The US said its objective was to eliminate imminent threats from Iran's regime. Iran responded by firing a barrage of missiles, according to the Israel Defense Forces. Both Iran and Israel have closed their airspace. This is not a small operation. US officials have described it as massive and ongoing. Why is this happening? The nuclear issue explained. At the center of this conflict is Iran's nuclear program. Back in 2015, Iran signed the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the Iran Nuclear Deal. This agreement limited Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. However, in 2018, President Trump withdrew the US from the deal, calling it weak and temporary. Since then, 1. The US has accused Iran of trying to rebuild its nuclear capabilities. 2. Officials claim Iran could produce enough material for a nuclear weapon within a short time. 3. Iran denies ever pursuing nuclear weapons. Recently, talks between the US and Iran ended without agreement. At the same time, the US increased military presence in the region, including sending the aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford. This shows preparation was already underway. Why this is bigger than just 3 countries? This conflict is not isolated. The Middle East is still recovering from the Israel-Hamas war. Regional tensions are already extremely high. If Iran retaliates heavily, 1. American bases across the Middle East could become targets. 2. Oil supply routes could be disrupted. 3. Global oil prices could spike dramatically. 4. Other regional powers may get involved. This could escalate into a broader regional war. And that's what makes this moment extremely dangerous. The political dimension inside Iran. Another major factor is internal unrest. Iran has faced massive protests over economic hardship and governance issues. President Trump has publicly encouraged Iranian citizens to protest against their government. Meanwhile, Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei has reportedly been moved to a secure location. This suggests serious concern inside Iran's leadership. So, this conflict is not only military, it is also political and psychological. The big questions now. Here are the key questions the world is asking. 1. Will Iran launch large-scale retaliation? 2. Will American bases or allies be targeted? 3. Will oil markets be disrupted? 4. Will this become a full regional war? 5. Or will this pressure force a new nuclear agreement? Right now, the situation is fluid and extremely volatile. President Donald Trump said as below as it is. A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted, "Death to America," and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts were to back a violent takeover of the US Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostages. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raze their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We are going to annihilate their navy. We are going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces, and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on Earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war, but we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with His help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. Now, final thought for my special viewers. This is not just about missiles and airstrikes. It is about power, nuclear capability, regional dominance, and political survival. When major military operations begin between countries like the US, Israel, and Iran, the consequences are rarely small. The coming days will determine whether this becomes a contained conflict or the beginning of a much larger regional crisis. Stay informed, stay analytical, and always question beyond the headlines.